Your question?
Yes, thank you, but I'm very eager to listen to you about your experience with the elephant. How was it to ride an elephant?
It was incredible. It was frightening at first, and I was really nervous and scared because there was really no safety equipment or fake wires holding me up or anything like that. So the first time I sat on the elephant, Francis brought me and he took a picture of me. I literally looked at it. And then after about 3 months, she had to be comfortable with me and I had to be comfortable with her. So we learned the routines, and Christophe was there too, learning this performance. It was an incredible experience. It was sort of like riding a big horse, like a big, slow horse.
Autre question?
Alors une question pour le metteur en scène. Je voulais savoir quand et comment il avait découvert le roman de Sarah Gruen. Et la deuxième partie de la question, c'est que le film est globalement très semblable au livre, et je me demandais quel a été le rôle de l'auteur du livre dans le scénario ou dans la mise en scène. Est-ce qu'elle l'a conseillé?
Well, this is a question for you, Francis. I mean, how and when did you really get acquainted with Sarah Gruen's novel? And although the film is very loyal to the novel, what input did you or the writer had into bringing it to the screen?
My first experience with the novel, my wife actually read the novel and knew that I was very interested in the circus and recommended it to me. And yeah, that's how I read it for the first time. But I think that Richard Legravenez, who's here somewhere, I don't see him, but he's here, and I worked very closely with condensing the novel down, and we had to squeeze a 14-hour read down into a 2-hour experience. And so I think it was, we tried to focus on the spirit of the novel, and we tried to focus on kind of the tentpole moments and scenes and sequences that you would remember from the novel, that the fans would really remember, the kind of anchor points of it. But we did some changes. We cut out a lot of the older Jacob sequences. The book was, intercut with the 1931 story and old Jacob in a nursing home. And we decided to cut that out. And we also combined 2 big characters. August in the novel was not the owner of the circus. There was a man named Uncle Al in the novel, and we combined August and Uncle Al together. And partially out of trying to find some depth to the character of August. August in the novel was also schizophrenic. And quite honestly, I wasn't quite as interested in an excuse in a way for his behavior. And I liked giving August humanity and a logic to his thinking, and that he built this family and built this business and has his life that he's protecting, and it makes sense, and I think it just makes him a human, and that's what I was interested in doing.
Autre question? Oui, monsieur, ici.
Yes, I have a question for Robert. We've known you for a few years now as a romantic hero. In this movie, we won't change that. You're the romantic hero as well. It's very dramatic as well. Are you planning some kind of career move to get rid of the label of the romantic guy in movies?
Alors c'est une question pour Robert, bien sûr. Il a un peu cette étiquette de héros romantique. Est-ce qu'il a envie, et ici évidemment c'est un film d'amour aussi, est-ce qu'il a envie de changer de registre?
I think the hardest thing about being an actor is staying employed. And so I don't know. I mean, I experiment with different genres and different characters and things. I mean, but I guess it's quite hard to make a movie without some aspect of romance in it. And I mean, it feels odd sometimes when there isn't. I mean, no matter what the movie is about, there's always a love interest. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever fight against that. As long as I don't really feel the need to.
Autre question? Oui. Oui, monsieur?
J'ai pas de micro et je parle pas trop bien anglais.
Alors, dites-moi tout.
Voilà, c'est à peu près la même question, mais pour Christophe, et dans le sens plutôt le rôle de l'homme entre deux univers, entre deux gentils, mais qui peut être méchant comme ça. Voilà,
oui, et Christophe
il n'a pas peur de tomber dans la caricature.
Thanks for giving me that opportunity. Because I just said to Rob,
I knew it was the same question.
we have to get used to that kind of, because it's the same question that I'm being asked. Under somewhat different parameters, I admit, but still the question is the same. Now, there are certain classical types, and typecasting is not a dumb thing, it's a good thing. Because of course you're trying to look for an actor who's, you know, physically and his whole persona and possibly as many aspects as possible, as close to the character as possible to make it more real, to abbreviate that lecture, I'm sorry. But anyway, so same thing with Robert. It would be interesting to see, excuse me for using you as an example, it's easier to talk about you. It would be interesting to countercast him, cast him as something, you know, like the villain. Like but how would you make that interesting if you did it all the time? So you need a certain regularity because it makes sense. And then you can break that mold and make it interesting one time. If you did it again, it would turn into, you know, some mannered, silly, arbitrary kind of thing. It's not just out of stupidity that things are as they are.
Question? No? Well, I have a question for you, Reese. I mean, your character, Marlene, really is the center of this movie, and she really undergoes very different ordeals, so to speak. What did you find maybe the toughest in your part through the movie? On a parlé des caractères de Robert et puis de Christophe, mais je trouve que le personnage de Marlène, qui est central, évidemment, connaît des aventures et des émotions très différentes. Qu'est-ce qui a été le plus difficile, peut-être, pour elle dans ce film?
I guess the physical aspects obviously jump out at me because this is the most physical role I've ever played. So actually, having to perform a circus performance when that's so beyond anything I've ever had to do was incredibly nerve-wracking, terrifying. I shook probably for 3 days before I couldn't sleep. I was so scared. Because you also have 300 extras watching you perform, and I'm not a circus performer. I'm not used to people watching me because I do films, you know, I'm used to a camera. But I think, you know, also, I don't know, I felt very protective of this character because I think, I don't know, I imagined a lot of what it must have been like to be a woman in the 1930s and have no education, no family, no opportunity, that you had to be very strong, very tough. And was sort of balancing that, having that sort of strength of character, but also feeling vulnerable enough to be sort of accessible romantically. I think probably that was the biggest balance for the character.
Question? Oui, monsieur?